Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of the disciples, which are not written in this book. But they are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in His name. Everyone says, amen to that. Now John is clear on what he wanted to speak about. He's not shy about it. Every book he writes, he just letters, so he writes it clearly. This is why I'm writing. I'm writing this book so you may believe, right? There's a focus. You may believe, and that believing will help you to have life in eternal. This is what John wanted, the purpose-wise, right? Now, past few months that Pastor Jonathan and myself went through the book of John. Now, I'm questioning people, did this study for past few months help you to believe that Jesus is the Son of God? I know most of you says, what do you mean? I already do, right? Okay. So, but no matter what, now, most of us, if not all, or actually at least most of us, that already are believers, or know Jesus Christ, but we all need a reminders, right? So what we're doing today, or any Sunday, is not like bringing some brand new to people. It is a reminder to all the believers that we believe Jesus Christ as the Lord and as a Savior, right? And we also need help from each other each and every day to experience the love of Christ and His power, right? Because of so many sad things going on in this world. Because of one selfish and cruel leader in Russia, there is a war right now, and then thousands of people lost their lives. But because of the one courageous leader in Ukraine, the country is still fighting for freedom. Now, John tells us that because of the greatest leader of all, there is a salvation for all of us. That is Jesus Christ, our Lord and our Savior. So John wrote all this in his book. And as we studied the book of John and chapter 13, now we just before 13 we're too far away. So I'm just summarizing the last week of Jesus, and 13 through 17 is like calm before storm, right? Jesus teaching disciples and summarizing all that. And then chapters 18 and 20, it is a climax of this book. John talks about Jesus' arrest, trials, and His passion, His death, and His resurrection. Then we ask, then what? John talked about all that. And Jesus' resurrection proved that Jesus is the Son of God, as He claimed, right? And Jesus appeared to His disciples after He was resurrected to prove that He's alive, including the Thomas, who said he would not believe Jesus unless he sees Him with his own eyes. Now, after all that, all the way to chapter 20, what does John want to tell us now? What John is telling us today and next Sunday, it is saying, it is your turn now. Turn person next to say, it is your turn. Okay? It is your turn. Now, John wrote about Jesus all the way, right? And the chapter 20 is about Jesus teaching, Jesus' life and death and resurrection, all that. Now, John is turning to you and me. In this case, it's Peter, but saying to us, it is your turn. Jesus did all He needed to do. Now, it's your turn to do what you need to do. That Jesus called His disciples to take up their cross and follow Him. Unfortunately, none of those disciples were able to do that yet. They were scared. So they were hiding from people after Jesus died on the cross. And they forgot about why they called them first place. They lost their desire to follow Him. So encountering Jesus, resurrected Jesus, probably gave them some hope, some excitement, but that was not enough for them. So they are still lost. Here comes Jesus. Chapter 21 that we're going to talk about today, the verses 1 through 14, is about Jesus coming back to Peter once again to call him and disciples back to Him. See, God is God of second chances. Aren't you glad that? God does not say, I gave you enough chance, it's over. God does not tell you and me 3 strikes and you're out. God is keep on giving us opportunity and chances until we awake, until we realize what we need to do. And this is what the story is about. God will never give up on us as long as we continue to believe in Him. Now, in today's verse, the 14 verses, the Peter decided to go back to his old lifestyle, fishing. And then, if you know the story, I'm sure, right? The Jesus went to Peter and his disciples and then calling them back. So second half is more exciting. First half is a little quiet, but still there was how Jesus is calling them back. How the God of second chances is actually doing His work, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, today's beginning is about Peter decided to go to fishing, right? Now, after they encountered Jesus who was resurrected, and then they decide to go to fish. I mean, when you read this, do you just read that? Oh yeah, sure. No, you read that. Are you kidding me? Peter, what are you thinking? How can you say I'm going to fish? You just saw resurrected Jesus. Would you do that? If you just encounter resurrected Jesus, resurrected person, and you say, oh, I'm going to go back to my old lifestyle. I don't know whether you would do that. I don't know whether I would do that. I would just be shocked. I know they're lost. But as always, Peter's action, his decision, gave Jesus as what? Teaching moment. Remember that? So in this story, that Peter gave Jesus another teaching moment. So what are the 3 principles and truths that we can learn from today's story? The first, what John tells us today, is that when you don't follow Jesus, you will experience an emptiness. When we don't follow Jesus, we will experience an emptiness. And second, when we obey Jesus, we will experience unexpected joy. Unexpected joy. Incredible, amazing, unexpected joy. And thirdly, when we have fellowship with Jesus, we will experience the love of Jesus. When we have a fellowship with Him, right? So those 3 principles that I hope that you can remember, that when we don't follow Jesus, we will experience emptiness. When we obey Jesus, we will experience unexpected joy. And when we have fellowship with Jesus, then we will experience the love of Jesus, right? So let's just start with that. When we don't follow Jesus, we will experience the emptiness. And John just wrote in 3 verses very simply. He started with this. After this, what is this? Until chapter 20, all the things John wrote about Jesus revealing Himself to disciples. Jesus revealed Himself again to disciples by the Sea of Tiberias. Tiberias is like Sea of Galilee. He just used that name. And He revealed Himself in this way. Here it comes, right? John is saying, I'm telling you one more time. And verse 14 says, like, this is the 3rd time Jesus appearing to His disciples. So let me tell you another incident. Okay. The main characters here is like 7 disciples. Verse 2 says, Simon Peter and Thomas, the called twin, Nathanael of the Cana in Galilee, and the sons of Zebedee, and 2 others, His disciples were together. So you can see that Peter was there, Thomas there, Nathanael was there, 2 sons of Zebedee, James and John. And even though John doesn't say the names, the disciples, 2 other disciples, we can guess probably Andrew and Philip. But anyway, 7 of them getting together, hanging out, young people said. Let's just hang out. And I imagine myself, so when you read the Bible, and the Bible doesn't tell you, you just use your imagination, right? So they're saying 7 of them hanging together, and they just encounter the resurrected Jesus, but still don't know what to do. What should we do? What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Have you done it before? You sit around together, like especially young people. Well, what do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? Just spend time. So I can imagine those guys are like telling each other, like, I don't know what to do. And then Peter decided to take up some leadership, right? In verse 3, Simon Peter said to them, I'm going fishing. Great idea, right? Like, can you be a little more creative? I'm going fishing. But he said that. And the rest of them, they said to him, oh, we'll go with you, right? And they went out and go into the boat, right? Now, just think about this. Jesus spent 3 years teaching them. Jesus even made a promise that I will make fishers of men. Jesus gave them hope, vision. And you will be the light and salt of the whole world. I mean, there's so much things that Jesus poured on them for 3 years. And again, it's understandable. They don't know what to do because this is the beginning of life without Jesus. Like, oh, we used to have Jesus. Tell us what to do. So used to. Now, COVID, life in COVID. Are you used to in your life in COVID? When we started 2 years ago, we were like, oh, we don't know what to do. For 2 years, we lived life like that. And then people said, I don't want to go to work. I can work from home. I didn't know it was possible. I'm enjoying it. Right? We get used to. They were so used to be with Jesus, telling them what to do for 3 years. Now, he's gone. You can imagine they're lost. You can imagine like, oh, I don't know what to do because Jesus is not with us physically. But one thing I could not understand is that how can you not remember anything what Jesus taught you? How can I remember like, oh, okay, what should we do? What did Jesus say to you? What did Jesus say to me? Okay, let's just remember bringing the memory, all the teaching that we had with Jesus. But they could not do that. So they decided, oh, I'm going to go back to my old life. It's the only one that I know what to do. Right? But when you do that, there's no clear guidelines, there's no clear purpose, there's no excitement. So I can imagine Peter saying, I'm going fishing now without excitement. Not like, yeah. I'm just going fishing. And the rest of the disciples the same way. I cannot imagine they were like, great idea, Peter. Let's go. Let's have fun. No, it's just like, okay. And when you start with that attitude, nothing good will happen. Right? And that's what happened. They could not catch anything. It says they went out and go into the boat, but the night they caught nothing. Does it sound familiar? Oh, they spent all night fishing but caught nothing. That sounds familiar. Last time it happened, Jesus came. Last time it happened, that Jesus came to call them. The Bible obviously doesn't tell us whether they could remember that, but I could. I hope you can. Like, oh yeah. Isn't that the moment? They were experiencing emptiness without Christ. Because they didn't know how to follow Christ when Jesus is not with them physically. They were so used to follow Jesus like little children physically when they could see him. Now they need to follow Jesus without seeing him physically. This is what Jesus is challenging them, but they could not handle it at this moment. Are you following Jesus? One person? Please make sure we have more than one person here. Are you following Jesus? I mean, if you're Christian, you are following Jesus. But how can you follow Jesus? Jesus is not with you. Physically tell you what to do each and every day. I hear this all the time. Pastor, yeah, I'm praying, yeah, but there's no, Jesus is not telling me go left or go right. I don't know. It's not easy to follow Christ without seeing him physically. This is a challenge for disciples. And that is why Jesus said to Thomas, those people who believe in me without seeing me, touching me, they will be blessed more. Because we better have an even bigger and stronger faith in them than those disciples to be able to follow Jesus whom we never met. That's true faith in Christ. Right? And I hope that none of us are going through our life that experience emptiness because we don't know how to follow Jesus. That is why Jesus gave us his words, that we can study and learn and put that in our life, then I know I am following Jesus. Right? The following Christ, or not following Christ will give us emptiness. Right? But in opposite, to obey Christ, when we obey Jesus, then we're experiencing unexpected joy. Not only joy, it's unexpected one. And that gives me excitement in my life. I don't know what to expect today. I don't know what kind of result I'm expecting through this worship, but there will be unexpected one. There's something I could not even imagine. Right? Verse 4, just as the day was breaking, Jesus stood on the shore, yet the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. Remember, I just mentioned that they didn't know how to follow Jesus when Jesus was not with them physically. When Jesus was with them physically, when he was not with them, they're looking for Jesus. Because they're so used to seeing him physically. So when they're alone, they're, Jesus, where are you? Remember that when they were traveling in the lake, in the boat, and storm came? And they cried for Jesus. Jesus, where are you? Help us. Now, even though they experienced an encounter, resurrect Jesus in their mind, oh, he's dead, he's gone. So they were not looking for him. So even when Jesus was standing there, they could not recognize him. That's what it says. I mean, we can see maybe it was too dark, maybe dusk, something else would not hinder them to see. Okay, fine. But still, Bible clearly stated that they were not looking for Jesus. And if they are looking for Jesus, they will be able to recognize him. Because whenever you're trying to buy a new car, haven't you experienced that? Suddenly you see so many other cars. If you want to buy Honda, and then you see everybody driving Honda, white Hondas. Like, what happened? I'm in process of replacing my roof because it's kind of ruined. Now I see roof. Look at that roof, different color, different shape. I never looked at the roof before. Who cares about roof? But now I see the roofs like, oh, is it better? Oh, do I like this? It opens your eyes when you're looking for it. It opens your eyes to be able to recognize Jesus when you're looking for him. But when you don't look for him, then you will not recognize him even if he's standing right next to you. And this is what happened to the disciples, right? And in verse 5, Jesus said to them, children, do you have any fish? They answered him, no. Now, by this time, somebody should recognize him. I mean, Jesus is calling them children. How many people call them children? And it had to be Jesus who's calling us that way. And then they heard his voice. Everybody who's in the military, I'm sure you know that. You better recognize the voice of the person. You better recognize the voice of your upper rank or higher rank person. Right? I know I have plenty of story in Virginia Tech experiencing. I better recognize that voice. They spent 3 years with Jesus and they could not recognize his voice. I just read through like, huh? How could they not recognize Jesus? Even when they're talking to each other. But Bible tells us they couldn't. The only thing I can see is that their minds were off from him. They couldn't even imagine Jesus will come and show up. I hope none of us do that. I hope none of us are too busy, too confused, too lost in a way that you don't recognize Jesus Christ. Most exciting moment in Christian life is that you recognize Jesus each and every day. Like, wow, this must be Jesus who's doing this work. Now, because they could not recognize him, Jesus has this finger point, right? Now, verse 6, he said to them, now, by now, when I call your children, hey, do you have fish? They perhaps say, oh, he must be Jesus. No, say, no. And Jesus said this, cast a net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some. Cast a net. By now, somebody has to say, wait a minute, we heard it before. But still, they could not. Jesus gave them clear guidelines, right? Go, cast a net, right side of boat, and you will find some. See, Jesus did not saying, why don't you try, see whether you can catch. Jesus did not say, well, when you cast a net right side of the boat, you might find some. No, he says, you will find some. When you cast a net to right side of the boat, you will find some. Because Jesus knows, right? Now, some scholars say this. There are fish everywhere in the water. Whether they cast a net to right side or left side, it's not right side is better. Either way, as long as you obey Jesus, you will catch fish. So I just imagine, because the scholar said that, the fish is like going around. Jesus, tell us which way you should go. Left or right? You say right, we go right. You say left, we go to right, left. Now I have so much imagination here, right? It's exciting, just watching. Have you actually look at the fish when you read this verse? I see the fish, you're confused. Tell us what to do, because Jesus owns everything. He tells everybody everything, right? So even the animals, as you may imagine, the reason they caught so much fish, not because it was the right side, but because they obeyed him. It says, so they cast it, and now they were not able to haul it in because of the quantity of fish. They caught so much because they listened to Jesus. They obeyed Jesus. They didn't ask question, Jesus, why right side? Why not left? No questions asked. Now, the Bible doesn't tell us they truly believe him. Like, yes, just like Jesus said, if we put the net down in right side, we will catch fish. I doubt that. Because at this time, until now, they didn't recognize Jesus. So it's like some strangers telling us this. Just like the Jesus came to Peter first time. Right? And then when Jesus says, why don't you put your net? And Peter says, hey, I know fishing more than you. And we've been fishing all night and we couldn't catch anything. What do you think is going to happen now? And Peter said to Jesus, just because you say so. Just because you say so, let me see what's going to happen. And then he put net down. And how much fish he caught? I mean, he's experiencing twice now here. No expectation to catch any fish. And they caught so much. I can imagine they're speechless. Their attitude, mood got whole changed. Like, oh, sure, we'll just put the net. And they go, whoa! I pray every day, Lord, can Christians experience this kind of unexpected joy and be amazed by it? And love every minute of it. Why Christians? Why we, the people who know we belong to you, and living our life as dry as non-Christians, as dull, as confused? When we truly obey him. Now, Jesus is not going to tell you and me, like he told disciples every day, put your net down right hand side. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But he always tells us the principles. As long as you obey the principles, then you will experience this unspeakable, unexpected joy, and you will love every moment. You know, Peter, always, right? He caught with the disciples. And then bring them the boat, like, whoa! And the other disciples say, wow, look at how many. And Peter was sitting down and counting. That's what verse 11 says. We kind of skipped a little verse 11, right? It says, so Simon Peter went aboard and halted the net ashore full of large fish, 103 of them. And although there were so many, the net was not torn. I just imagine Peter said, 1, 2, 3, 152. Why he's doing that? Why? Because he wants to enjoy that moment. He wants to enjoy this amazing fish that they caught because this man told them. He did it after he found out that was Jesus, by the way. He was enjoying it. Do you enjoy your life? Do you? Or you just kind of pass by each moment? Oh, well. You know, the word I don't use these days, I try not to use it, the word I learned in America a long time ago, very first word, one of the first words. You know, in Korea, we say, how are you? Fine, thank you. This is how we learn, right? Whether you are fine or not. How are you? That's the only way I know, right? I don't know how I say, how are you? I'm not fine. It's fine, thank you. Now, when I came to the United States, they say, how are you? Nobody says, I'm fine, thank you. He says, so. Okay, so. So what does that mean? So. like yesterday, like today, like tomorrow, so-so. So I learned that. I love this. Like everybody say, how are you? So-so. And then later I realized that that's not good. What kind of life is so-so? I don't want to have that kind of life. I hope you don't. Wouldn't you like to have this unexpected joy happen every day? And every morning you open your eyes and looking for it, like, Lord. This is what Peter is experiencing. Impossible became possible to them. I know it's just fish, but still, for as far as they're concerned, impossible became possible for them. But the joy is not just fish. Joy was not just like, we caught a lot of fish that we could not catch all night. No, the fact that Jesus came, the verse 7, going back, right? After verse 6, verse 7, the disciple whom Jesus loved, this is John. John always called himself that way. The disciple whom Jesus loved. Is it humble or is pride? I think it's both, right? I'm not telling you my name, I'm humble. But I know Jesus loves me. The disciple whom Jesus loved, John says, therefore said to Peter, it is the Lord. See, bigger excitement than just catch so much fish, material thing, is that the fact that Jesus is there, it is the Lord. I mean, when I was reading this and preparing, I was just like, all my body shaking, like, how many times in my life I would say, it is the Lord. It is Jesus who's touching my heart, changing my heart. It is Jesus changing these people's, the person's life. It is Jesus who's giving us peace. It's Jesus who's giving us enlightenment. It is the Lord. And I hope our church members will be able to say that when we see each other at your own home, at your work. It is the Lord. I know some people say it must be a God thing. This is what John said. It is the Lord. And that excitement. So what happens to Peter? When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his outer garment, for he was stripped for work. Now, the scholars argue about this. Discuss, I guess, disagreeing. Like, what do you mean, stripped for the work? Was it naked, totally? No, just half naked. Who cares, right? Whether it's half naked, total naked, okay. He had to put some garment to see Jesus. And threw himself into the sea. Now, obviously, this is not like walk on the water, because they're close to the land. The verse 8 says that the other disciples came in the boat, they're dragging the net full of fish, for they were not far from the land, but about 100 yards off. So he didn't have to walk on the water, but still, that excitement gave Peter that he could jump out of the boat. I don't know when it's the last time that you're so excited to see the Jesus that you jump out of the boat, jump out of your comfort zone, jump out of whenever you are there. I don't want to move now. But no, here comes Jesus. I'm going to jump out. I'm going to greet him. What John writes here is a very exciting time. And I believe the reason he wrote, one of the reasons, at least, is trying to challenge all of us. Do you experience that unexpected joy by encountering Jesus himself, by experiencing amazing miracles that Jesus will perform? And you know why? That when we gather together as a church, it will be even more exciting, because this is the moment we can share that. You know why small groups? You should be excited, because that's the moment you need to share that. To bring your story. And then you listen to other people's story, and when you walk out of the small group meetings or church gatherings, you have tons of different stories. Direct experience with the indirect experience, and your life will be richer. It's not boring anymore. It's not so-so anymore. So, that when we obey Jesus, we'll experience unexpected joy. And the third one is that when we have fellowship with Jesus, then we will experience the love of Jesus Christ. We all know and believe that Jesus loves us. And how can we experience His love? When we have fellowship with Him. When we think Jesus is so far away from us. When we believe Jesus is our right-hand side of the God, just praying for us, we're not going to experience His love. But when you have this friendly encounter, then you will experience the love of Jesus. Now, when Jesus died and resurrected, He has to leave them. But they're so comfortable and they're used to being with Jesus physically, they will not know to experience His love when He's not around with them physically. So Jesus came back to them once again with a resurrected body. Eventually, they would need to, and they did, to learn how to experience the love of Jesus when Jesus is not with them physically. But this is our last time that Jesus came physically saying, I want to show you my love to you. Now, like I said, this is the last chapter, and then second half will come, and John will tell us about our love for Jesus. That Pastor Jonathan Parker will speak about next Sunday. But today, John is telling us that Jesus' love for us, right? So, 3 different things Jesus did in here. Very quickly. Jesus initiates, and Jesus invites, and Jesus forgives. In this really short verses and one incident, you and I can learn how to love others, how we should love others. This is how Jesus loved them. Jesus initiates it, invites, and forgives, right? This is how we should love them. Don't just tell people, I love you. If you love them, you should initiate, you should invite, and then you should forgive. Verse 9. When they got out on the land, they saw a charcoal fire in the place with the fish laid out on it and the bread. Now, by the time they came on the land, by the time they were enjoying the fish and trying to bring them, Jesus prepared everything. Jesus sitting down, and then there's a fire, there's a fish, there's a bread. It's like good old days, like, wow, Jesus, we're having really good time together. They're friendly, the fellowship is happening. And then Jesus tells them, verse 10, bring some of fish that you just caught, right? See, when you have this fellowship, the eating together, it's not just sharing the food. Eating together is a sharing life. This is what Jesus wants them to experience, it, right? I'm going to finish, in John says, with the love of Jesus. But first thing that we have to recognize, Jesus initiates it. Jesus prepares it, right? And everything He did, Jesus started first. Before anybody cry out for Jesus coming down, Jesus came down first. Before anybody asked, Jesus, can you take care of our sin problem? Jesus decided to die on the cross. See, Jesus initiates everything. Even after Jesus died on the cross and then He was resurrected, He was the one who appeared to them. Nobody was crying out for a miracle. Nobody was crying out for, that Jesus, please come, please let us know that you are not dead yet. But Jesus appeared. Jesus initiated all. When nobody was looking for Jesus, He did. Even after Jesus appeared to them multiple times, twice before, and third time, they were not looking for Him. Jesus is the one who came to Him and then prepared all that. Verse 4, it says, when you go back quickly, it says, just as day was breaking, Jesus stood on the shore, right? So Jesus came. He was standing there. Bible doesn't tell us how long. He probably standing there and they watched them. Let's see whether they recognize me, right? See, and then Jesus initiates. Did you catch any fish? And then Jesus initiates to give clear guidelines. Everything He did, He initiated. Even now, He was the one who prepared and be there first. When God loves us, He always initiates. When you love somebody, do not wait. You need to initiate first. That's the beginning of love. And then Jesus invites. He does not initiate and prepare it. He invites them, right? Jesus said to them, verse 10, bring some of the fish that you have just caught. Now, actually, Jesus could say this. Bring some of the fish that I help you to catch. But Jesus did not say it. He says, bring some of the fish that you just have caught. Bring them. Not because Jesus did not have fish. Remember verse 10? He had a fish. He had the fire. He had the fish. He had the bread. So then why did Jesus ask his disciples to bring his fish? Just like before, Jesus saying, bring what you're supposed to bring. I will do what I need to do, and you need to do what you need to do. This is what God desires. I will guide you. You need to follow me. I will teach you. You need to learn from me. I will love you. You need to love others. See, that's always in the Bible that what God says I will do, and then there's something that you need to do. It's very simple, isn't it? Like Jesus is preparing all the fish, but he still tells the disciples, hey, why don't you bring some fish? Let's enjoy it together. Because I want to work with you. And that is the most amazing thing to me. I'm sinful. I'm weak. I'm ignorant. But Jesus is telling you and me, I want to work with you. Bring what you can bring. Jesus invites. Just like that, if you love someone, you need to be able to invite them. And thirdly, Jesus forgives. The verse 10, we just read through. Verse 11, we just went through. Like Jesus said to them, bring some of fish that you have just caught. And then Simon Peter went abroad and hauled the net ashore and full of large fish. He won 53 of them. And although there were so many, the net was not torn. It's obviously happening, right? And then verse 12, okay, verse 12. And Jesus said to them, come and have breakfast. So he's just inviting them, right? Inviting them, continuation. Now, none of the disciples dared ask him, who are you? They knew. John says he's the Lord. Peter jumped out of the boat. They knew. But they could not say, oh, is it really you, Jesus? They knew he was the Lord, but they could not ask him why. Because it was not comfortable for them. You can imagine. They're sitting with Jesus, but they're not really comfortable because they know what they did. It's like, as a dad, the way I would not call punish, but then my children will call punish. The way I punish them was by talking to them. I never actually put any kind of physical punishment. But whenever I say, let's talk, and they said, my kids said, Dad, please. I said, I'm not punishing you, but that's you are. So when Jesus asked, hey, come on, let's have breakfast. It's all my children coming. I know we did wrong. They were not comfortable at all. That's why they dared to ask him. You know, Jesus could tell them, what are you doing here? Did I teach you all that for 3 years? Is it what you're doing now? Where were you when I died on the cross? When I appealed to you multiple times, can you still see I'm real? Peter, you even denied me 3 times. And there are so many things the disciples were not proud of. So when they faced Jesus, of course, they were not comfortable enough to sit there and listen to what Jesus says. Bring some of fish that you have caught and come and have breakfast. He could say so many things. What I've learned to watch how Jesus forgives them is that they know what they did wrong already. A lot of times happens, right? Jesus didn't have to bring them up. But Jesus came not to punish them, but to embrace them to give them another chance? That is why Jesus did not say anything about what they had done. Instead of he invites them and bring them fish and then come and have breakfast. And then 13, Jesus came and took the bread and gave it to them. So with the fish. My imagination once again. If I were a disciple and sitting there and then take that fish and the bread, and I would just imagine, oh, this is how Jesus fed 5,000 men. I remember how amazing power Jesus performed and then blessed people. I remember how much of blessing we received and so excited to follow him. Can you imagine they were reminding themselves on doing this thing? And Jesus says, don't worry about it. I'm here to comfort you. I'm here to encourage you. Forgiveness. It's not just we tell people, say, I forgive you. Forgiveness is what we do to them. Have you experienced that? I've done before. I talk to my wife. Say, honey, are you okay? Yeah. Have you forgiven me? Yeah. That was not forgiveness. That was scary. But she said, yeah, I forgive you. Way she look at me? Way she talk to me? No. If I ask, or when I ask her, honey, will you forgive me? And if she said, if she didn't say any one word, just holding my hand. Sometimes I do that, right? Sometimes I have no guts to ask. Will you forgive me? I just go and then trying to touch her hand. And if she doesn't do like this, right? If she just like, okay, let it happen, I'm just holding it. And if she holds my hand back, that's forgiveness. That's my wife saying, I'm taking you back. This is what Jesus is doing to them. What have you done? It's past. I want to have this friendly fellowship with you. Can you experience my love for you? And this is why and how Jesus will ask Peter later next Sunday, will you love me? Because I loved you first. I pray for all of us as children of God to be able to understand the Jesus' love and be able to experience unexpected joy. And will never say, my life is empty. If anybody would say that, I hope we can just bring them and comfort them, encourage them. I believe this is what John wants us to know and be able to do to other people. And let us be that kind of church together. Let's pray. Father God, I thank you for this morning, this worship. Thank you for your word. And thank you for enlightenment you've given us. We don't want to experience any emptiness because we do not know how to follow Christ. We want to experience an amazing miracle, unspeakable, unexpected joy because we obey Christ. We also want to experience most amazing love when we have friendly fellowship with Him. Help us to be your children who love you, who love themselves, who love others, who love their lives because of who you are. We thank you, Lord God. In Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.